Richard, you're late again. Sterling Enterprises didn't just let Vance Pharmaceuticals go under for fun. Your duty is to continue the Sterling bloodline. Eleanor, if you can't give him a child, just get a divorce. And don't take Mom seriously, honey. Mom seriously? Will we divorce if she finds out I'm infertile? Yes, so you better keep it quiet. I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I won't drive you. 7 years married, and you're drifting further away. Why did Richard forget such an important thing? I hope it's not too late. Just put everything else aside and draft a divorce agreement for Eleanor and me this month. Mrs. Sterling, you heard that? Eleanor whispered, voice trembling. Why did you tell me not to take your mom seriously last night? Richard sighed, loosening his tie. Relax, it's just a precaution. Vance Pharmaceuticals still has value. You can remain my wife for a while. Joseph Winslow hotel party tonight, don't forget it. I know you'll come with me. Eleanor's voice was flat, devoid of emotion. Okay, I'll get ready. Anything else? She watched him, her eyes like ice. You forgot your files, and don't touch my stuff from now on, Eleanor. He tossed the files onto the table, his tone dismissive. Okay. She turned away, the word barely a whisper. Later at Vance Pharmaceuticals, Jonathan Graham greeted Eleanor warmly. Elsie, I told you, just call me Jonathan. Thanks for choosing Vance Pharmaceuticals. Jonathan, thank you for having us. Eleanor managed a weak smile. This company is the only leverage I have in this marriage. I must keep it afloat. You're welcome, Eleanor. Are you free later? Dinner, maybe? I need to go to the hospital, Jonathan. Maybe next time. Eleanor's smile faded. At the hospital, the doctor's words hit Eleanor like a physical blow. Miss Vance, this is the result of your pregnancy test. It's very hard for you to get pregnant now. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. What should I do? The answer echoed in her mind. Divorce Richard now. Her mother-in-law's voice cold and sharp. Mrs. Sterling, let me explain, Eleanor began, but was cut off. I don't want to hear it. Our family doesn't need an infertile woman, and I can't let Mrs. Sterling know. Richard's words from the night before came back to haunt her. Joseph, I'm tired. Can we talk tomorrow? Eleanor pleaded, exhaustion weighing her down. What did you do last night? Why were you so late coming home? Eleanor questioned Richard the next day, her voice strained. Kayla got drunk at the party, so I took her home. Richard replied casually, avoiding her gaze. What's wrong? Did you go to the hotel with Kayla last night? Eleanor's voice sharpened, suspicion creeping in. What do you mean? Richard feigned innocence, but his eyes flickered nervously. Wait, the paparazzi filmed you too, Eleanor exclaimed, scrolling through her phone, her blood running cold as she saw the pictures online. Aren't you going to explain it? Her voice trembled, hurt and anger warring within her. It's just gossip reporters making up stories. What's there to explain? Richard scoffed, his dismissiveness a shield. Richard, you promised never to betray me. Eleanor's voice cracked, the weight of his betrayal crushing her. At Sterling Enterprises, Richard's assistant intervened. Mr. Sterling, we've issued a clarification, and all the news has been suppressed. Later that day, Eleanor's mother-in-law cornered her. Since you aren't happy with Richard, just divorce him. No, I won't divorce him, even if his affair is true. Eleanor's voice was surprisingly firm, a new resolve hardening her gaze. Sterling Enterprises has clarified it. I trust Richard. It's just his method of dealing with public opinion. I need to use the restroom, Eleanor mumbled, turning away, the weight of her words settling in the air. Later that evening, at the Winslow hotel party, Richard's hand tightened on Eleanor's arm. Eleanor, how dare you cheat on me? His voice was low, menacing. You cheated on me first. Why can't I do the same? Eleanor retorted, pulling away, her anger finally erupting. Richard, get off me. Don't you want me to touch you? You promised never to betray me. Her voice rose, attracting unwanted attention. I'll give you an explanation about last night, Richard hissed, pulling her closer. His words a twisted promise. Back at home, Eleanor's mother-in-law's words echoed in her mind. You've married him for 7 years. If you can't have a baby this year, just get a divorce. Richard, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil, said casually, Eleanor and I are still young. No need to rush it. The next morning at Vance Pharmaceuticals, chaos erupted. Miss Vance, bad news. Our financial director took all our company's funds and ran away. Her assistant's voice was panicked. What did you say? The financial director ran away? And Marston Hospital's investment of $200 million is gone? Eleanor's world tilted, the news a devastating blow. If Vance Pharmaceuticals collapses, my marriage with Richard... Block the news right now. Don't let anyone know about this, Eleanor commanded, her voice tight with urgency. Inform all executives to the meeting room. Yes, immediately. Richard appeared at Vance Pharmaceuticals unexpectedly. Eleanor, you're surely hard to reach. His tone was laced with sarcasm. Richard, I was having a meeting. Eleanor's voice was strained, trying to maintain composure. You're working really hard for your family business. Richard's eyes scanned the room, a predatory glint in them. It's my dad's whole life's work. I can't let him down. Eleanor's voice was filled with desperation. That's the only way I can go on with you, Richard. I can't let go. Her words were a plea, a desperate attempt to salvage something. No, I don't forget about tomorrow night's family banquet at the old villa. Richard's words were clipped, dismissive. The next day, Kayla cornered Eleanor at the hospital. Why do you want to see me, Kayla? Eleanor asked, her voice wary. Eleanor, you're about to be kicked out. Kayla's smile was venomous. What do you mean? Eleanor's heart pounded in her chest. I'm pregnant. Richard is the father. Kayla's words were a calculated strike, aimed to destroy. If you're smart enough, you should divorce him now. Don't wait until they kick you out. It's just a report. I believe for your sake, too. Kayla pressed on, her voice dripping with false concern. However, being so stubborn won't do you any good. Later, a frantic call shattered Eleanor's fragile composure. Eleanor, come to the hospital. Your dad's having a heart attack. He passed out. Jonathan's voice was laced with panic. Rushing to the hospital, Eleanor found her father pale and weak. Dad, what happened? Why did you suddenly faint? Her father's voice was weak, barely a whisper. Alas, the financial director ran away. Our capital chain is broken. You really thought you could hide it from me, Dad? Eleanor's voice was thick with unshed tears. Dad, I'm sorry. Chris, our financial director, he actually took so many loans in the name of our company. Now he ran away with the money. I've already called the police. Don't blame it on yourself, her father murmured, his breath shallow. Richard arrived at the hospital, his face cold and distant. Where have you been tonight? He demanded, his tone accusatory. I can't tell him the truth. He knows about my family's problem, Eleanor thought frantically. I needed to work overtime. She lied, her voice barely audible. Do you remember what day it is today? Richard pressed, his eyes narrowed. No need to explain. Since you don't want to be part of this family, I'll fulfill your wish. Richard thrust a document at her. Sign this. Jonathan appeared, concern etched on his face. Eleanor, you know best about what's going on with your company. You knew it all along. He turned to Richard, his voice hardening. As I said, if Vance Pharmaceuticals loses its value, you'll lose your value. We've called the police. We'll get the money back soon, Richard said dismissively, ignoring Jonathan. I've signed both agreements. Just sign this. Let's get it over with, Eleanor said, her voice numb, pushing the divorce papers towards Richard. Suddenly, chaos erupted in the hospital corridor. Shouts and angry voices echoed closer. Who are you? Who sent you here to cause trouble? Don't step in my way. Who are you? Get lost. Leave. Jonathan stepped forward, shielding Eleanor. Thank you. Just now, Sterling Enterprises is very influential. If Richard is willing to help, he can easily solve your problem, Jonathan said softly, his eyes filled with concern. He won't help Vance Pharmaceuticals. Eleanor's voice was bitter. Back then, his family lost power, and my dad made Richard marry me. Now that I'm in trouble, it's reasonable for him to take advantage and dump me. Eleanor, just divorce Richard. If you do that, I can invest $200 million in your company to help. Jonathan offered, his voice sincere. Kayla appeared, her face triumphant. Eleanor, you're really scheming. If Kayla didn't tell me about it, I would still be in the dark. She placed a possessive hand on Richard's arm. Kayla has already been pregnant with Richard's child. From now on, she is the new Mrs. Sterling. As for you, just get out right now. Another frantic call shattered the tense atmosphere. Miss Vance, your dad's critical now. Come to the hospital. Rushing back to her father's room, Eleanor found it in disarray, filled with angry creditors. You old bastard! Pay me back, a man yelled, shoving past her. Who let you in here? Get out! Out, all of you! He roared, brandishing a fist. I'm telling you, if I don't get paid in 3 days, I'll come back. Eleanor's father, weakened and distraught, gasped. Vance Pharmaceuticals is my whole life's work. You must keep it. Don't worry, Dad. I'll raise enough money. I won't give up on the company, Eleanor vowed, her voice trembling but resolute. You must have a good life with Richard together. Her father's voice faded, his eyes closing. Tears streaming down her face, Eleanor turned to Richard, desperation in her voice. Richard, for the sake of our marriage, just help my family out for once. Richard's laughter was cold and devoid of warmth. Impossible, Eleanor. You think you're worth it for me to save your family? You overestimated yourself. If you help my family out, I'll sign the divorce agreement, Eleanor offered, her voice raw with pain. You're really willing to go this far for your family? Richard sneered. Isn't this what you want, Eleanor? Richard, what I want is for you to suffer for life. Eleanor's voice was venomous, her eyes blazing with hatred. Just listen up. Even if you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your company. Even if you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your company. Richard's words were like ice, chilling her to the bone. I see, Eleanor whispered, her voice broken. I'll see you at City Hall tomorrow morning. Kayla appeared, a predatory smile on her face. Thanks, Miss Young. If you can make a bigger scene, I'll pay you 10 times more, she whispered to one of the creditors. Turning to Eleanor, her smile widened. Miss Vance, as long as you cooperate, I promise to be gentle. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you. Stay away, Kayla. Eleanor's voice was low, dangerous. Richard stepped closer, his face inches from hers. Eleanor, I've made my point clear. There's nothing left to be said. I want you to suffer for life. Even if you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your company. Even if you disappear right before me. Later, Richard's assistant rushed in, his face pale. Bad news, Mr. Sterling. I just got the news. Vance Pharmaceuticals chairman passed away at the hospital. Mrs. Sterling jumped off the building. The phone rang. Richard answered, his face hardening as he listened. Hello. Are you Mr. Richard Sterling, Miss Eleanor Vance's husband? I am. Please come to City Hospital to collect the body of your wife, Miss Eleanor Vance. Richard stared blankly ahead, Eleanor's last words echoing in his mind. If you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your family. At the hospital morgue, Eleanor's mother-in-law confronted Richard, her face contorted with grief and rage. Richard, how dare you still come? You came here so pretentiously. Now who are you going to convince? Eleanor is gone. Are you happy now? Then who are you trying to convince with that sad look? A hospital staff member approached Richard. Who's Richard Sterling? I am, Richard responded, his voice hollow. Please sign here, then you can collect the body. Richard signed, his hand trembling. Eleanor, I'll make you pay the price. Alone in his office, Richard wrestled with a strange mix of emotions. I hated Eleanor so much, but why do I feel so painful for her passing? His phone rang. Hello, Mr. Sterling. We've completed acquiring Vance Pharmaceuticals. It can reoperate now. Mr. Sterling, it seems something's off with Mrs. Sterling's passing. Richard's assistant's voice was hesitant. What do you mean? Richard demanded, his voice sharp. There's someone behind those who broke into the ward for money? Who is it? Kayla Young, Richard breathed, realization dawning. Kayla Young. He called Kayla, his voice cold and devoid of emotion. Kayla, I'm sorry. Can you please forgive me? Kayla's voice was sweet, manipulative. Richard, of course. I understand. Kayla, you owed the Vances 2 lives. Richard's voice hardened. You better keep your eyes open at midnight. He turned to his assistant. Send her to the police. Yes, now. Suddenly, Richard was jolted awake. He sat up in bed, disoriented. Sunlight streamed through the window. He was alive. Eleanor, I think I have fallen in love with you. The words escaped his lips, a strange sense of longing washing over him. He remembered falling from the roof, the hospital building. Why am I alive? He muttered, confused. Eleanor walked into the room, concern etched on her face. You're awake. Your fever is finally gone. She smiled, a gentle, unfamiliar smile. What's wrong? Go and wash yourself, then come out for breakfast. Mom's waiting in the living room. Richard stared at her, bewildered. When did Eleanor become so gentle? He shook his head, trying to make sense of it all. What's going on? He joined Eleanor and his mother at the breakfast table. His mother's voice was sharp, impatient. You're really arrogant. You even made me wait for you to have breakfast. Eleanor intervened gently. Mom, Richard had a fever last night. You knew that. His mother softened slightly, turning to Eleanor. You've been married for 4 years. When will you give me a grandchild? 4 years. Richard's mind raced. 4 years, or did I reborn into the past? Eleanor and I are still young. Just take its course. No need to rush, Richard said, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. His mother scoffed. You two are working all day. How will you have kids now? You've been married into our family. Your duty is to continue our family's bloodline. Just let that poor company of yours go bankrupt. Just let that poor company of yours go bankrupt. Your duty is to continue our family's bloodline. Eleanor, if you can't have a child, just go and get a divorce with Richard. Later that day, Eleanor sought out Jonathan at Vance Pharmaceuticals. Why do you want to see me, Eleanor? Jonathan asked, his voice curious. Jonathan, you're about to be kicked out. Eleanor's voice was urgent. What do you mean? Jonathan frowned, confused. I'm pregnant. Richard is the father. Eleanor stated, her voice firm, a flicker of determination in her eyes. The memory of Richard's cold words resurfaced. Even if you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your company. If it weren't for the Vances, Sterling Enterprises would have been gone. Don't you feel it hypocritical to dislike my family now? Since you're so dissatisfied with me, we can go to City Hall and have a divorce now. Richard's words echoed in his mind, bitter and cruel. Don't take Mom's words seriously. Don't rush about having a baby. Richard's voice from this new timeline was gentle, reassuring. Richard, my dad forced you to marry me, but your family has made a comeback with Vance Pharmaceuticals resources. On that ground, we're even now. There was no love between us. It's best for us to have a divorce now, Eleanor said, her voice surprisingly calm, the memory of the previous timeline fueling her resolve. Her father's weak voice echoed in her mind. Vance Pharmaceuticals is my whole life's work. You must keep it. This time I'll keep our family safe. I won't make mistakes again, Eleanor vowed, her eyes fixed on the city skyline. Her father noticed her changed demeanor. What happened? Did Richard mistreat you then? What's going on? Dad, if I divorce Richard now, will you be mad? Eleanor asked, her voice tentative. Why all of a sudden? I just want to divorce him, she added, her voice gaining strength. You loved Richard so much once? What happened? Her father asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I don't love him anymore, Eleanor stated, her voice final. Eleanor, no matter what you do, I'll stand with you. But if you were wronged, you must tell me. Understand? Her father said, his voice filled with love and support. Thanks, Dad. Eleanor's eyes welled up with tears, grateful for his unwavering support. Miss Vance, you wanted to see me? Her assistant stood before her, notepad in hand. Monitor the CFO, Chris Holler. If anything is wrong, tell me immediately. Draft me 2 divorce agreements as soon as possible. Yes. Eleanor's voice was decisive, her eyes filled with a newfound determination. Fate has given me another chance to live again. I can't let what happened in the past happen again. Let go. Richard arrived at Vance Pharmaceuticals, his expression troubled. Eleanor, I don't agree to divorce. Eleanor met his gaze unflinching. If you're worried that our divorce will affect our cooperation, then don't be. It won't. You did all you could back then just to marry me, and now you want a divorce? Richard's voice was laced with confusion, a hint of hurt in his eyes. Eleanor, what am I to you? Am I just a toy wrapped around your finger? Eleanor's voice was cold, detached. I've signed the divorce agreement. It won't affect our cooperation. You can rest assured. She paused, her gaze unwavering. We don't have a property agreement, but I won't take a penny from your family. I won't divorce you, Richard insisted, his voice firm. You wanted to divorce me before. Now you don't want a divorce? Richard, what exactly do you want? Eleanor's voice was laced with exasperation. I won't divorce you, or even just separate. Richard's words were resolute, a stark contrast to his past indifference. The next morning, Kayla appeared at Eleanor's office, a smug smile on her face. Why do you want to see me so early in the morning? Since you're to divorce Richard, the sooner the better. Just sign it now. She pushed a document across the desk, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Does Richard know about this? Eleanor asked, her voice calm despite the turmoil within. Of course he does. He always wanted to divorce you. Kayla's words were laced with malice, designed to wound. Later that day, Eleanor met Jonathan at a cafe in Midtown. Miss Vance. Jonathan greeted her warmly. Jonathan. Eleanor managed a small smile. I didn't expect to meet you here. Miss Vance, likewise. Jonathan's eyes held a hint of something more than just friendship. You're staring at me, Miss Vance. Is there something on my face? Nothing. Eleanor blushed slightly, turning away. Vance Pharmaceuticals will launch new drugs next month. Miss Vance, can you give me a discount? Jonathan asked, his voice turning professional. Okay. How much do you want? Eleanor agreed readily. 30%? Jonathan raised an eyebrow, surprised. 30%? Eleanor confirmed, her gaze steady. Miss Vance, are you sure? Samsib Peocento? It's almost $4 million. Jonathan was taken aback by her generosity. You helped me out in the past life. I will repay you for your kindness. Eleanor's words were quiet, almost to herself, but Jonathan caught the underlying emotion. Marston Hospital has long been Vance Pharmaceuticals' biggest client. We've been cooperating for so long. You and I are friends. I can manage to give you a discount. That evening, at a rooftop bar overlooking Central Park, Jonathan and Eleanor were enjoying drinks. Jonathan noticed Eleanor's distress. What's wrong? You've drunk quite much. Stop drinking now. And it's late anyway. Time to go home. Indeed, it's time. Check, please. Eleanor signaled the waiter. Jonathan reached for his wallet. Let me. Suddenly, Richard appeared, his face dark and possessive. What are you doing here? He demanded, his voice cutting through the air. To pick you up, Eleanor. Home. No need. I can go home myself, Eleanor retorted, her voice cold. Jonathan, can you take me home? Eleanor asked, turning to Jonathan, deliberately ignoring Richard's presence. More than willing to, Jonathan replied, his eyes locking with Richard's in a silent challenge. Eleanor, when will you stop this? Richard's voice was strained, his control slipping. Stop what? Come home with me, Richard. Eleanor's voice was laced with weariness. Richard, I think I've made my point clear. I chose to let go. Please stop haunting me. Jonathan stepped forward, placing a protective arm around Eleanor's shoulders. Since Eleanor has refused you, Mr. Sterling, please don't force her. He turned to Eleanor, his voice low. You had a fight with Mr. Sterling. It won't be easy to handle his pestering all the time. You won't have more chances. What do you mean? Eleanor asked, confused. I'll go abroad next month. Jonathan's words were unexpected, a sudden departure from the current drama. Richard's mother arrived at Vance Pharmaceuticals, her face grim. Mrs. Sterling said Eleanor gave her this divorce agreement. It's signed already. You can go out now. She dismissed Eleanor curtly. Richard intercepted Eleanor as she left the building. Eleanor, why don't you want a divorce? His voice was pleading, a stark contrast to his earlier dismissiveness. You were only forced to marry her for Sterling Enterprises, but the group is doing well now. Even without Vance Pharmaceuticals, Sterling Enterprises can run well. His mother's words echoed in his mind, a justification for his past behavior. It's none of your business. Get out. Eleanor brushed past him, her resolve unwavering. Eleanor, this time I won't let you leave me. Richard's voice was desperate, a promise and a threat intertwined. Richard booked dinner at Lunar Bistro, a fancy restaurant with a view of the city. All the dishes are your favorites, he said, gesturing to the lavish spread. He presented her with a bouquet of roses. Nice flowers, but I don't like them, Eleanor stated flatly, her gaze cold. What kind of flowers do you like? I'll bring you new ones tomorrow, Richard offered, his voice eager to please. Richard, you don't love me. Why are you acting so affectionate? Eleanor's voice was sharp, cutting through his facade. Have you ever heard a saying? What saying? Richard asked, confused. Belated love is worth nothing. Eleanor's words were heavy with meaning. My heart hurt when you sat and watched Vance Pharmaceuticals go down in trouble. People make mistakes. Why can't you give me a chance to redeem myself? Richard pleaded, his voice filled with remorse. If Sterling Enterprises were going bankrupt, but I just watched indifferently. When you turned to me, would you still love me? Eleanor's voice was laced with bitterness. Richard's eyes widened, understanding dawning. So you also came with memories from the past life. Richard's assistant rushed in, his face pale. Mr. Sterling, there's news from our men following Mrs. Sterling. She went to the airport. She's going abroad. Richard's phone rang. It was his father. Dad, what's the matter? Richard knew that you were planning to go abroad. He had a car crash on his way to the airport. He's being rescued. His father's voice was strained, filled with worry. Richard's mother confronted Eleanor at the hospital, her face contorted with rage. Mrs. Sterling, how's Richard now? Eleanor asked, her voice trembling. Eleanor, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Richard wouldn't drive after getting drunk. His mother's voice was venomous, accusatory. Eleanor, no one would stop you from leaving, but you shouldn't let Richard know. If anything happens to Richard, I won't let you off. Richard's mother turned to Kayla, her voice softening. Mrs. Sterling, calm down now. We can teach her a lesson any time, but our priority now is to save Richard's life. She squeezed Kayla's hand. I'm really terrified, Kayla. Luckily, I have you. Kayla's voice was soothing, manipulative. It's my honor to stand by you. You're much better than those troublemakers. This time I believe Richard will divorce you. Hours later, a doctor emerged from the operating room, his face grave. Eleanor rushed forward. Doctor, how is my son? Richard's mother pleaded, her voice choked with emotion. Who is Eleanor Vance? The doctor asked, his gaze scanning the anxious faces. Eleanor stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. He's in critical condition. He keeps calling your name. Can you awaken his will to live? The doctor urged, his voice urgent. Eleanor approached Richard's bedside, her voice barely a whisper. Richard, say something. Tell him that I will give him another chance, as long as he's alive. The doctor returned later, his expression slightly more hopeful. Doctor, how's it going? Richard's mother asked anxiously. He suffered a head injury. He might have short-term memory loss. You should be prepared for it. The doctor's words were a somber warning. Richard stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Eleanor, he murmured weakly. Richard, you're finally awake. Eleanor rushed to his side, relief washing over her. Who are you? Where is Eleanor? Richard asked, his eyes confused, searching for a familiar face. She's a jinx, Richard's mother interjected sharply, her voice laced with venom. Why do you ask about her? Shut up. Who let you speak ill of her? Richard's voice, though weak, held a surprising strength, a protectiveness towards Eleanor. I'm your mother, his mother exclaimed, shocked. Eleanor is just... Eleanor. Richard's voice trailed off, his eyes losing focus. Doctor! Eleanor cried out, panic rising in her voice. A nurse intervened gently. Doctor, you can't take any stimulation now. You'd better say as he wishes. Richard's mother seized the opportunity. Yesterday, we finally kicked Eleanor out. Do we really need to call her over to this hospital? Richard's father tried to reason with him. You're really not going to stay longer? If only you could take my advice and stop being stubborn, Dad. Don't worry, I'm fine, Dad. I gotta go. Go back, Richard insisted, his voice weak but insistent. Richard's mother, seeing his distress, relented. Now he's insisting on seeing you. Go to the hospital now, Eleanor. At the hospital, Eleanor hesitated at Richard's door. His mother urged her forward. Eleanor, I'll get the doctors here. She quickly exited, leaving Eleanor alone with Richard. Eleanor, don't go. Richard's voice was weak, pleading. I'm not leaving. Eleanor reassured him softly. I'm going to get the doctors here. Eleanor, I love you. Richard's words were barely audible, a confession whispered from the edge of consciousness. When Richard woke again, his gaze locked onto Eleanor's. When I woke up, I remembered you said you'd go abroad. Can you tell me what happened? Maybe you can tell me why you remember. Eleanor's voice was gentle, hesitant. I remember. We were happy during our 4 years of marriage. We had a fight the other day. You packed your luggage, claiming to divorce me and go abroad. When I chased you, I got a car crash. I can't remember the rest. Richard's voice was filled with confusion, fragments of memory surfacing. New, current memories. We're really a normal couple, aren't we? Richard smiled weakly, reaching for her hand. In reality, we had a lot of disagreements. I was never your first choice. Eleanor's voice was soft, tinged with sadness. Impossible. After I woke up, I couldn't remember anything but you. That shows how important you are, Richard insisted, his grip tightening on her hand. Kayla appeared at the hospital room door, a forced smile on her face. Richard, what are you doing here? I made your favorite soup. She held out a thermos, her eyes fixed on Richard. Get out, Kayla. Richard's voice was surprisingly strong, his gaze cold. Richard can't take any stimulation. Please get out, Miss Young. The nurse intervened firmly. I just want to help him recover his health. Kayla protested, her smile faltering. Kayla, given this situation, you think he'd fall for your trick? What's up? Let her out. Richard's mother snapped, her patience wearing thin. Miss, considering the patient's health, please leave here. The nurse reiterated, her voice firm. I'll get some water, okay? Eleanor offered, stepping away from the tense scene. Richard's mother seized the opportunity to corner Eleanor. Eleanor, why are you still here? If I find out you try to poach Richard away during his sickness, I won't let you off, Miss Vance. Her voice was a venomous hiss. Mrs. Sterling, Richard and I are married. The verb poach is more suitable for you. Eleanor retorted, her voice calm but laced with steel. Even if I don't want Richard, he's not yours to covet. Richard, overhearing the exchange, called out, What are you looking for? I'm looking for our wedding rings. I remember buying wedding rings. Why can't I find them? Eleanor's voice was filled with a sudden sadness. You threw them away 1 year after we got married. You threw away the rings, including mine. Richard's voice was quiet, filled with a deep regret. We had a lot of disagreements. I was never your first choice. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. Sorry, Richard. Eleanor, I don't care anymore. Don't have to apologize. Richard's voice softened, reaching out to touch her hand. Sorry, I care. Eleanor, I promise I'll treat you better. I won't do anything that upsets you. Richard, how credible is your promise now? Eleanor asked, her voice laced with skepticism, but a flicker of hope in her eyes. The next morning, Richard surprised Eleanor with breakfast at home. I prepared breakfast. I'll drive you to the office later, he offered, his voice tentative. No, I'll have breakfast there. Eleanor replied, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. You made such a big concession. I'll take you up on that. Remember what you said. At Vance Pharmaceuticals, Jonathan greeted Eleanor warmly. Why are you here? Richard's voice cut through the air, his tone possessive. I'm here to have lunch with you, Eleanor replied, her voice calm, meeting Richard's gaze. Jonathan and I have plans. We can go together. Eleanor turned to Jonathan, her hand lightly touching his arm. Jonathan, you won't mind, right? Sorry, I mind. Richard's voice was sharp, possessive. Eleanor is allergic to that. He pointed to a dish on the table. Mr. Sterling, you don't know that. I'm not allergic to it. Eleanor corrected him, her voice firm. Richard ignored her, pushing another dish towards her. Now eat. He watched her intently, his gaze unwavering. Why are you looking at me? Eleanor asked, her voice slightly strained, feeling his intense gaze. Mercy to men is torture to myself. I shouldn't have tolerated the food just to help Richard out, Eleanor thought to herself, forcing herself to eat. Later that afternoon, Jonathan found Eleanor looking pale. Why are you here? Jonathan asked, concern etched on his face. Sorry, I won't put you in a dilemma again. Richard appeared, his voice apologetic. You could see that, yes. You looked a bit pale later on, so I guessed it. Jonathan nodded, understanding. Sorry, it's not your fault, Eleanor murmured, accepting a small pill from Jonathan. Take the medicine. Thank you. I've taken it. Jonathan's gaze softened, his voice gentle. Eleanor, tell me if anything happens. Richard stepped closer to Eleanor, his voice low and sincere. Like I said, I'll treat you well, no matter what our past is like. Eleanor, can I still trust you? Yes, Eleanor replied softly, her eyes searching his. Okay, let's get back together. Richard, don't let me lose again. Kayla approached Richard, her voice dripping with poison. What's up, Richard? Eleanor doesn't like you at all. She wants to use Sterling Enterprises to stabilize Vance Pharmaceuticals. Enough. Don't say this again. Richard's voice was sharp, silencing her. Richard, did you forget the insult back then? What do you mean? Kayla pressed on, undeterred. During the Sterling family's downfall, she forced you to marry her with Vance Pharmaceuticals' influence. She often offended and disrespected your mother during the marriage. Do you forget all of these? Kayla's words were calculated, aiming to reignite his resentment. Where did you hear these? Richard asked, his voice cold, suspicious. I saw it by myself. If you think I'm lying, you can ask your mother. Kayla's voice was confident, knowing she had planted seeds of doubt. If you have nothing else to say, you can leave now. Richard dismissed her curtly. Eleanor, no matter what tricks you have, Richard can only be mine. Kayla hissed, her eyes burning with jealousy. Richard waited for Eleanor outside Vance Pharmaceuticals. Have you been waiting long? Eleanor asked, noticing him. I can wait forever for you. Richard replied softly, his gaze tender. Let's go. Let's go to have lunch. Richard's mother approached Kayla, a conspiratorial glint in her eyes. Mrs. Sterling, I've told Richard what you taught me, Kayla said, her voice eager to please. What if he doesn't believe me? Richard's mother asked, her brow furrowed with worry. Don't worry, I know my son so well. He's so skeptical. He'll try to find the truth. Kayla reassured her, her smile confident. Good. Then we arrived. Richard's mother nodded, satisfied. Richard led Eleanor to a secluded spot overlooking the city. Eleanor, I'm here. I know we've been married for 4 years. I still want to ask, would you marry me? Richard's voice was sincere, his eyes filled with a newfound vulnerability. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. Yes, I would. Richard, I really mean to help you revive Sterling Enterprises. Believe me, I don't mean to force you, Eleanor said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. Richard's gaze darkened, a shadow passing over his face. Eleanor, I'll never love you. This marriage is just a deal. You'd better face the fact. His words were cold, a stark reminder of their past. Eleanor recoiled, hurt flashing in her eyes. What's wrong? Richard asked, noticing her sudden change in demeanor. The memory of his cruel words in the previous timeline resurfaced, sharp and painful. Even if you disappear right before me, I won't invest in your company. Richard's assistant rushed in, his face pale. Bad news, Mr. Sterling. I just got the news. Vance Pharmaceuticals chairman passed away at the hospital. Mrs. Sterling jumped off the building. Richard's eyes widened in shock, the weight of his past actions crashing down on him. I recall it all, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Eleanor, sorry. What happened to you? Eleanor blinked, startled by his sudden shift in tone. What happened to you? Nothing. I just recalled something suddenly. It doesn't matter. This time I'll rewrite the past story. I won't let you suffer like before. Richard's voice was filled with a newfound determination, a promise to change their fate. Glad that you're fine. Let's visit your father tomorrow. Why do you want to visit him? Eleanor asked, confused by his sudden change of heart. I have something to tell him. Okay, we'll go tomorrow. Richard agreed, his gaze fixed on the city lights, a sense of purpose hardening his resolve. The next day at her father's home, Richard greeted him warmly. Dad, hey, I'm glad you come, but no need for the gifts, her father said, waving away the expensive presents Richard had brought. Eleanor, go to the kitchen to check if the dinner is ready. I want to talk to Richard alone. Eleanor excused herself, leaving Richard and her father alone. What do you want to talk about? I can't even hear about it, her father asked, his tone wary. What do you want to tell me? You must keep in mind what I'm trying to say. Chris Holler, financial director of Vance Pharmaceuticals, is suspicious. I suggest firing him, Richard stated, his voice firm, direct. Her father's eyes widened in surprise. You find him suspicious too? Anyone else told on him to you? Not long ago, Eleanor told me about this. She sent someone to watch over him. If he has any abnormal action, we'll fire him right away. Richard explained, revealing Eleanor's foresight. The memory of Richard's cruel indifference in the previous timeline resurfaced. If Sterling Enterprises were going bankrupt, but I just watched indifferently, when you turned to me, would you still love me? I forgot that you also carry memories of the past, Richard murmured, his gaze distant, lost in thought. Richard, what's wrong? Eleanor's father asked, noticing his change in demeanor. Nothing, Mr. Vance. I'll go and see Eleanor. Okay, Mr. Sterling. Investigate all the Young family's deals in the last decade. Why? Tell me if you find anything that is unlawful. All right, Richard instructed his assistant, his voice cold, determined to uncover the truth. Kayla, it's your time to pay the price. Later that evening, Eleanor's father addressed her. Dad, you fired Chris, right? But our men haven't found anything on him yet. Other employees may be suspicious about your decision. Those cunning men have been waiting to replace Chris as the CFO. They must be happy to see Chris fired. Why did you suddenly fire him yesterday? Her father's voice was filled with concern. Richard made you leave and told me to be wary of Chris. Since you two both suspect Chris, in case of an emergency, I want to have it fixed before anything goes wrong. Her father explained, revealing Richard's unexpected intervention. What? Richard reminded you two? Right? What's the matter? Is anything wrong? Number. Hello. Mom has called and asked us to go home tonight. Okay, I know. I'll meet you after work. Okay, Eleanor replied, her mind racing, still trying to reconcile the new Richard with the man she knew. Will he and I go through the same fate again? She wondered, a sense of unease settling over her. Richard's mother confronted him at home. Mom, you're against the Young family? Yes. The Young family have worked in Sterling Enterprises for a long time. Do you know it may disappoint the shareholders? I have my plan. She dismissed his concerns, her voice resolute. Eleanor, what did you say to Richard? It has nothing to do with Eleanor. Please don't blame her. Why did he target the Young family? Except for Sterling Enterprises' status, their families are connected. When our family fell, the Young family didn't leave us. But now you target them. Others may criticize you. Richard's mother's voice was laced with disapproval. Those are two different things. How can you say that? If it weren't for her, Kayla would have become your wife already. Even without Eleanor, I wouldn't marry Kayla. If that's the reason why you made us come, I have nothing to say. We have to go. Richard stood up abruptly, pulling Eleanor with him. What's wrong? Why do you target the Youngs? Eleanor asked Richard later, her voice filled with concern. I found they forged contracts under cover of the company and gained great profits. I can't allow them to damage the company's fame. Is that the only reason? Eleanor pressed, her gaze searching his. Yes, Richard confirmed, his voice firm. Turns out I'm overthinking. I thought I'm the reason. Eleanor admitted softly, relief washing over her. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm just tired. Have a good sleep. Richard's voice was gentle, reassuring. Later that night, a shadowy figure entered Eleanor's room. Kayla stood over her bed, a menacing glint in her eyes. Stop struggling. I personally tied it. It's very tight. Kayla's voice was cold, devoid of emotion. Kayla, what do you want? Eleanor gasped, fear gripping her. I just don't like you, Kayla. What you're doing is illegal. So what? For a man, you go against the law? Kayla, I look down on you. Weren't it for you? Richard and I would have got married. It's all your fault. Kayla's voice rose, fueled by jealousy and rage. Suddenly, the door burst open. Richard's assistant rushed in, his face panicked. Mr. Sterling, your wife was taken away by someone. What? Richard's voice was sharp, disbelief warring with fear. Mr. Sterling, don't worry. I've sent people to investigate. I'll get the news once they find any clues. Send more to investigate. I must know where she is in half an hour. Got it. Richard barked orders, his voice laced with urgency. Kayla dragged Eleanor to a secluded warehouse. Don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. Now Richard is dealing with the young family. Once what you do gets exposed, you'll be finished. Screw you. You're mad. Do you know why Richard is against the young family? Kayla sneered, her voice dripping with venom. Eleanor, aren't you scared of passing away, huh? Suddenly, Richard burst into the warehouse, his eyes blazing with fury. Stop, he yelled, his voice echoing through the space. Richard, Eleanor cried out, relief flooding her. Richard, do you like her so much? Just come at me. Let Eleanor go. Kayla shrieked, her grip tightening on Eleanor's arm. Don't move forward, Richard. Wake up, Eleanor. With this car crash, I've paid you back. Kayla screamed, shoving Eleanor towards Richard, then lunging forward with a knife. Richard shielded Eleanor, the knife plunging into his side. He collapsed to the ground. Richard, Eleanor screamed, rushing to his side, cradling his head in her arms. Richard, you can't pass away. You can't leave me. At the hospital, the doctor emerged from the operating room, his face tired but hopeful. Doctor, how is he doing? Eleanor pleaded, her voice choked with tears. His condition has been stabilized, but whether he can be safe is up to his condition tonight. The doctor's words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Richard, if you wake up, I can forget about all our pasts. Please wake up, okay? Eleanor whispered, her voice raw with emotion. Later, the doctor returned, a smile gracing his lips. Doctor, he's regained consciousness. He'll wake up after some time. You needn't worry. Thank you, doctor, Eleanor breathed, relief washing over her in waves. Richard stirred, his eyes opening slowly. Are we even now? He murmured weakly, his gaze locking with Eleanor's. Richard, Eleanor smiled, tears streaming down her face. Richard, I never want you to pay back. I vaguely heard you say, if I wake up, you'll forgive me. Is that real? Richard asked, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, Eleanor confirmed softly, her eyes filled with love. Then in the future, let's stay together, okay? Richard's smile was weak but sincere. All right, Eleanor agreed, her heart overflowing with hope. Richard's mother approached Eleanor, her face contorted with worry. To save you, Richard is wounded and in hospital. Will you never tell me that? If I haven't seen it on the news. Her voice was laced with accusation. Mom, I'm sorry. Eleanor's voice was apologetic. I don't need your apology. I want you to divorce Richard, Mom. His mother's voice was firm, unwavering. Mom, I'll be nice to Richard. I won't, Eleanor began, trying to reason with her. After you married Richard, you haven't given birth to his kid, and because of you, Richard got in danger constantly. Eleanor, I'm begging you as a mother. Please leave Richard, his mother pleaded, her voice breaking with emotion. Richard found Eleanor by the hospital window, gazing out at the city lights. Where did you go? He asked gently. I just walked around. I found a few places where we can spend a honeymoon. After I'm discharged, we can set out. Honeymoon, right? I owe you a honeymoon. I want to make it up to you. Richard's voice was filled with tenderness, remorse, and a longing for a future together. Richard, will you really spend your life with me? You regret it, Eleanor asked, her voice hesitant, still unsure of his sincerity. Your mom talked to me, she added, her voice dropping. What did she say? You know she wants us to divorce. Richard sighed, understanding his mother's relentless opposition. I won't let you go. His voice was firm, unwavering. Your mom won't agree, Eleanor pointed out, her voice still laced with doubt. You needn't worry. I'm with you. I'll be on your side. Have a good rest. I'll get some water. Okay, Richard reassured her, his gaze tender, promising a future where they faced everything together. Later, Richard called his mother. Mom, I have a thing to tell you. Eleanor is pregnant. You'll have a grandchild. Richard's mother's voice changed instantly, softening with joy. Eleanor, I misspoke earlier. Don't take it to heart. Just forget about it. Eleanor's mother-in-law bustled into her hospital room, her demeanor completely transformed. Mrs. Sterling, what's the matter? Come in first. You're pregnant now and must be careful. Richard will be discharged tomorrow. Come home with me today. I'll make you some tonics. Her voice was suddenly warm and solicitous. Richard, I'll go and get the stuff, Eleanor said, feeling overwhelmed by the sudden shift in his mother's attitude. What's going on? She whispered to Richard, confused. I told her you're pregnant. As soon as she heard it, she got so happy and cares about nothing else. You told your mom I'm pregnant? What if the lie's exposed? Are you a fool? We can work hard and make it no longer a lie. Have a test. Are you pregnant? Yes, Richard exclaimed, his face lighting up with joy. Eleanor, we'll have a child. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes, a bittersweet mix of joy and sorrow. It would be wonderful if our kid from last life were still alive. I'm sorry. I want to pray for that kid. Okay, I'll go with you. Richard agreed softly, understanding her unspoken grief, their shared past binding them together. Jonathan visited Eleanor at the hospital, his eyes filled with a quiet sadness. I hear you're pregnant. Yes, congratulations. Thanks. If I had met you before him, would it be different? Jonathan asked, his voice barely a whisper, a question hanging in the air, unanswered. What's wrong? Could you please give me a ride to the hospital? My mother is in danger. Kayla's voice, panicked and desperate, broke through the quiet moment. Get in the car, Jonathan said, his gaze fixed on Kayla, a sense of foreboding washing over him. In the car, Kayla's desperation was palpable. What's your name? I'm Richard Sterling, Richard replied, his voice calm, steady. I'm Eleanor Vance. Thank you very much. Eleanor added softly, a shared gratitude for the stranger's kindness. Later, at Sterling Enterprises, Richard's father voiced his concerns. Sterling Enterprises is in a lot of trouble. Are you sure you'll risk your future to marry Richard, though he doesn't like you? Eleanor's voice was resolute, unwavering. Yes, I'll marry him and help him develop Sterling Enterprises. Her gaze was fixed on the city skyline, a new chapter beginning, filled with hope and uncertainty, love and forgiveness, and the promise of a future rewritten.